The daily edition of Market Wrap with Mo Ansari.
Brought to you by Compact Asset Management.
Providing proactive portfolio management and world-class wealth management solutions.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Market Wrap. I'm Mo Ansari, president of Compact Asset Management, and you're tuned in as you've been doing so for 2 decades now. And as always, you can call in, and I will be more than happy to share with you my 33 years of trading experience. And today I have a very interesting interview lined up for you. We have Linda Ferrari on our guest line. She is president of Credit Resource Corporation and author of The Big Score, Getting It and Keeping It. Ms. Ferrari is a national education public speaker on all issues regarding consumer credit reporting and scoring, and a consultant to professionals on new legislation initiatives. And she acts and mortgage selling guidelines as ACTS. What's ACTS, Linda? Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, the ACTS are the Fair Credit Reporting Act. It's the laws that are in place to protect consumers when it comes to credit reporting and scoring. So the Fair Credit Reporting Act, the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. So what I do is I do consulting and education on those acts to help consumers understand what their rights are.
Ms. Ferrari, let's talk a little bit about, let's start with, first of all, so many people have defaulted on their home mortgages. And they said, well, we are going to restructure it, and I'm going to get into strategic defaults in a second. But just people who have defaulted on their loans, how has that impacted their credit? Because there's so many people now in that particular category. Is it just a national phenomenon where the entire credit score has gone down, so the banks are really not going to pay a lot of attention, or creditors in the future? Or is it still going to impact people who have defaulted on their mortgages at this time?
Well, Mo, the numbers came out a couple of weeks ago that said that over 45 million people in this country since this, economic downfall have scores under 600. Mm-hmm. About 70% of the nation, of the adult consumers in this country, have scores that are under 700. And this is all in response to the mortgage crisis and to the defaults and people going into foreclosure, loan modifications, or short sales.
Right.
So it has a significant impact, and it is a nationwide phenomenon. It is just affecting everybody, and the credit scores are dropping by 100 to 200 points.
Well, if everybody's credit score goes down, then what difference does it make? Because everybody will be in the same category, and banks will say, well, if I want to give a loan, then I've got to deal with 70% of the public, so I will sort of disregard that one mortgage default, because everybody had that. Is that going to be a case, or is that not going to be the case? And are the banks going to look at this and say, look, you've defaulted on a mortgage, so you don't get a mortgage for a certain period of time, and so on, like they used to in the past?
Well, in general, there are waiting guidelines when it comes to the selling guidelines for mortgages. So when you have a foreclosure that is reported, generally you're going to have to wait 5 years before you can get into another traditional type of mortgage. So there are waiting periods in place, but here's the good news, Mo. There is legislation that is being introduced right now that will affect and impact the way that credit scores are affected by these types of defaults.
And why should I be put in the same category? If I've made all my payments, I should be able to get a lower loan. I should be able to get all of this. And these people who just were reckless to a certain extent, why should they get the benefit of somebody saying, oh, you know what, it's okay, everybody's in the same thing, so it's okay. We don't want anybody to feel bad, so we're just going to sort of wipe this out.
Well, let me tell you what's going on with that. Fannie Mae just introduced something just a few weeks ago to impact people who are considered as strategic defaulters. So this is what's going to happen to those people who make this decision and take advantage of the system. Mm-hmm. What's going to happen is Fannie Mae is going to put a 7-year waiting period on those types of loans. So nobody that is considered a strategic defaulter is going to be able to purchase a home for at least 7 years if they're going to choose a traditional type loan. And FHA they now have pending legislation stating that they want to impose a lifetime ban.
What do they do to fix their credit? How do they go about fixing this situation?
Well, the very first step that they can take is to, number one, document their hardship right now. Mm-hmm. Because in the mortgage industry, there are selling guidelines that allow for extenuating circumstances, which reduces the amount of waiting time, okay, in FHA and in the traditional type loans. So it's important to document your hardship now so that when you do go to purchase a new home and you submit that hardship letter with your with your paperwork, basically it will be more powerful and it will impact, the underwriter that's looking at your file. The second thing is that you need to understand how important it is from that moment to be proactive in starting to strengthen everything else that you have on your credit report.
Linda, let's move forward a little bit. Now, there was these credit reporting agencies or there's these services out there that say, look, if you defaulted, don't worry, we'll fix it. So should people be very careful of those companies, just like there were these loan modification firms out there that were charging upfront fees and saying, look, give us this money and we'll fix your mortgage. And now there are people out there saying, look, give us so much money and we're going to fix it. No matter if you've got a strategic default or what you did, we're going to go out. What should people look out for if they hear something like this?
I think they should just turn and run. If they hear someone tell them that they can remove a recent foreclosure off of someone's credit report, bottom line is that it's almost impossible. There are certain circumstances where it can be done based on inaccurate reporting and hiring an attorney to fight the system and fight using the Fair Credit Reporting Acts. But I can tell you that is not the way to go. The way to go is to look at what you have and start from today and start being proactive in making your situation better. And there's a lot of ways to do that.
Linda, let's talk about 15 ways that you mentioned this in one of your chapters, I believe chapter 4 of your book, of the cost of not paying attention. But how can credit possibly affect your health care? There was something in there that really caught my eye. How can that affect your health care? Tell the listeners about that.
This is what's going on. For a couple of years now, there's Tenet Health Corporation and Fair Isaac and Company, who is the creator of the credit scoring software,
right,
have been working and designing a system called MedFICO. What this means is that they're designing a program so that when you go to admit yourself into the hospital, that they're going to be pulling your credit reports and scores. What they're looking for is something that's going to indicate whether or not you're going to be paying that debt or be able to pay that debt or not. So if you have a lot of medical collections on your credit report or a lot of debt that is in bad rating, basically they're going to use that as an indicator of whether or not you're going to be paying your bill. Now they're stating that, of course, they're not going to use this to discriminate who they admit or who they don't, but I have to tell you, I would not want to be the third person in line with an old medical collection on my credit report if I had to get into the hospital.
Wow. So this is something that hospitals are starting to do and corporations are starting to do, that if you have a history of not paying your medical bills, they might say, you know what, we can't say no to you, but we are going to put you at the bottom of the line and you get around to emergency care or whatever it may be, maybe 24 hours down the road. And if in the meantime something happens, well, whatever it may be. That's really, really scary out there. So it is not only financial, but this could be a life and death situation for some people.
It could be. Of course, I'm not going to be able. I can't say that that's exactly what they're going to do. But if they have the system in place.
Linda, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your schedule and being with us today. Such an important topic that so many people do not pay enough attention to. That's the way I would put it. It is so important. And we did not even cover identity theft, which is another big area out there, where if you have some kind of credit watch, you can sort of eliminate that or reduce the possibility. Is that correct, by the way, that if you do have you're monitoring your credit, you do bring down the possibility of identity theft or catching it very quickly?
Yes, Mo, that is absolutely true, because what happens is if there's any activity on your credit report, they will send you an email alert to let you know. That will indicate that you need to go in, take a look and see what's going on, look for unauthorized inquiries. And the minute that happens, there's a lot of protection out there for people now with identity theft. The numbers are, it is the fastest growing crime in America right now, identity theft. So we really have to be on top of that.
Folks, that's one of the things that you really need to work on. Linda, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule and being with us today.
You are welcome. Thank you for having me.
Linda Ferrari, the president of Credit Resource Corporation and the author of The Big Score.